Well, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. I think the world, there are sometimes that I look at the World Templar 10 and I think that the thing that it needs is less arguing, less shootings, less horrific violence, and more brackets. Would you agree or disagree with me?
More of our brackets, anyway.
No others, because the rest of them suck.
There's probably enough. There's probably enough brackets overall, but there's not enough of our brackets. So
Exactly.
More of ours, absolutely. I'm with you.
Well, that leads us nicely into this journey we've been on for the last about 2 months now. It's been a good quick journey. We started at the top of the greatest movie franchises of all time bracket. We put 64 movies in there, down from a list of 128, I believe. Narrowed it down to 64, and then we let you, the community, vote on this. This is obviously, these are our opinions because we each get one vote, but so do the rest of you. You all get one vote, and we made it down to an interesting matchup. The matchup that I think that the prophecies foretold. It was written in the stars. Templar, before we get to the winner of our bracket here between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, do you have any sort of like highlights of this bracket?
Oh geez, I should have looked back through all the rounds and like the results to see if there was anything that really stood out. There were some interesting matchups, I think, and I think we made the right decision in terms of the amount that we had, in terms of how we approached it was good.
Agreed.
Off the top of the dome, no. I know that isn't great for content, but
great, thanks. Yes, and
I'm sorry. I should have looked over the all the different rounds, but I just didn't before we. So I'm trying to remember specific matchups we had that were maybe surprising.
The one big surprise to me was that The Matrix made it to the semifinals.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. The single movie carrying that franchise all the way.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
It was,
and shows how much affinity I guess there still is, because I don't think it had the easiest road.
Not that I can remember.
Not that I can recall. I don't think it had that easy of a road to get to the finals. So the fact that it stuck it out with again, and we've been running with this narrative that it's one movie. I know that there are defenders of the second and third Matrix movies, and that's fine. Like sure. It's okay. Oh yeah, that's right. I went up against Underworld in the first round of my beloved Underworld that we ensured had to make it into this bracket, and then promptly lost in the first round. But
I fell on the sword.
Yeah, lost to an ultimate semi-finalist. So who knows? If it hadn't been against the Matrix, you never know, Chino.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You never know.
Well, I think it's time. We've stalled enough. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you've all been waiting for, the winner of the greatest movie franchise of all time is, I don't have my drum roll up, do I? Can I find my drum roll, please? Where is it? Is it right here? I don't have it. I'll have to insert it. Here, Andy, insert drum roll in post. There we go. I inserted in post. Ladies and gentlemen, hail to the king. Templar 10. Well done on this presentation, young man. Hail to the king. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a standing ovation for Lord of the Rings? We did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. I'd love to see the numbers on this. What are the numbers? Wow, that is a whooping. That is an absolute whooping.
Not particularly close.
No. Huh. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Break it down for us, color commentator.
I feel like the Lord of the Rings is a franchise that doesn't get discussed as much, and I guess that depends on the circle you're in. But at least I think in our community, we and certainly on the round table, we've talked a lot about obviously so many comic book movies, for so long.
All of them.
But we've talked about animation, we've talked about video game characters, and we talk a lot about video games. We talk a lot about like newer movies, and we talk a lot about the MCU and all this stuff. And in the community, even I think it's similar. And certainly, like Lord of the Rings comes up, but I think it just shows, at least certainly for our community, that like even though it might not be discussed as often and it's maybe not as front of mind as some other franchises that are still kind of ongoing, and like I mean I'm not counting Rings of Power, like I'm not counting that as ongoing, like that were made, you know, at this point over 20 years ago, like just how much esteem those movies are still held in, like how much like how much kind of faithfulness there is to those, the kind of love for those movies, again certainly in our community, for them. I think it says a lot because again they don't come up a ton, we don't talk about them a ton, but obviously the love is still really very much there for them. So shout out JRR.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Tolkien and all his friends. I do have to say I'm a bit shocked at the number. I thought it would have been a little bit closer.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me just simply because in our community, you know, Star Wars, I think I mentioned this last time, but everyone has their Star Wars. You know, everyone has their, just like it's the Mario Kart phenomenon, everyone has their Star Wars, whether it's whether it's the originals, whether it's the really stupid kind of prequels, or whether it's the even worse sequels. I think everybody has their one. The interesting thing though is that it is a decline. It is a down to the right thing, in my opinion, in terms of Star Wars, maybe not fandom, but quality over time. And Lord of the Rings has not been around long enough to go down to the right. You know, it has not been around. I mean, it's been around. Don't get me wrong. What were these books written over 100 years ago? So don't hear me say that. But the movies themselves, the movie representations, even with The Hobbit, like if you want to throw The Hobbit in there, I still think Star Wars gets beaten by Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Like I think as movies, they're better movies. They're more fantastical. It's a little more mature, I think. Lord of the Rings is a little more mature than Star Wars, and there's a lot more like Easter eggs. Like we'll still watch them to this day, and I'll still find little things hidden in there, like little nuances to some of the armor, or you know, just the care and the love. And I just feel like Star Wars hasn't had care and love in maybe ever. Maybe that's the Lucas versus Peter Jackson school of filmmaking, you know?
Maybe. I mean, although Peter Jackson, like that was not evident in the Hobbit movies, so that
Touché.
same attention to detail and that. So, I mean, whether it was just the stars aligned, just things came together for the Lord of the Rings movies, like maybe they came out at a time where like certainly they could do a lot with CG, but where they didn't rely on it as heavily as they did in the Hobbit, and then you just get that nice balance where it still looks pretty good even to this day, but there's so much that's also done practically. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of, you know, like Viggo Mortensen getting cast last minute because the other person dropped out. Like there's a lot of stuff that became iconic that, you know, it just could have gone other ways. So yeah.
Well, Hail to the King is absolutely correct. Lord of the Rings.
It's the lowest percentage Lord of the Rings had at any point in this. So I mean, I guess in theory, this is the most it got pushed at any point in this bracket, which was, it didn't even get below 75% in any, like Harry Potter was 70. I looked at it, was 78% against Harry Potter, and it got 77 here. So like, and the other matchups, I don't think it ever dropped below 90%. So maybe even 95. So it dominated throughout this whole bracket. I think more than in any other bracket we've had, that absolutely just dominated. No, I don't think any other, I'd have to go back. Like, I don't remember the animation bracket that well, but I don't think any other bracket we've had where one has just dominated throughout the entire thing in the way the Lord of the Rings did here.
No, and I don't feel, this is one of the things that Templar and I talked about at the very beginning was, do we make this random or do we try to seed these? And I don't think it mattered with this one, honestly, even because I think it would have been even worse with Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings could be, if you think about it, Lord of the Rings would have been a 1 or a 2 seed, and it would have gone up against a 32 or a 31 or a 16 or a 15 if we were doing 4 sets. It would have crushed. It would have just absolutely demolished everything, like it did here.
Like it did here,
yeah.
So, I mean, Star Wars probably would have been the 2 or like the 1 seed, right? So like, and Harry Potter probably would have been like top 4. So it went up against I mean, and those were the semifinals and the finals, so it makes sense. And so I don't know if there were a ton of surprises in what we ended up with outside of the Matrix, probably. But so it probably beat two of the other three, like in the top four anyway. So
yeah. Well, congratulations, Lord of the Rings. We'll be following up with another bracket probably next year at some point. Within the next 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, we're taking some breaks between them. So a few months from now, we might be starting something off again. Also, before someone corrects us, the Return of the King came out in 1955, so it has not been 100 years since the books came out. So just before someone is in the comments being like, it has not been 100 years since the Lord of the Rings came out.
That's my bad. That's my bad. But
no, hey, I mean, no worries. I'm not. It's all good. But just getting in before.
It is 20 years before Star Wars. So there we go.
No, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
The grandfather of fantasy literature. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Templar, for putting all this together for us. Thank you to the community for voting on these. If you do have any ideas for brackets, any wish lists or anything, throw them in the comments or the doodly-doos below. We would love to start to explore some of those. I have a couple of ideas. I know Templar has a couple of ideas. But until then, until next time, stay tuned to the Roundtable. We love you. Goodbye, everybody.